Alright guys, we're back working with our materials and getting familiar with how this all works. I promise that the beginning of the semester in any art class, the first week or two is always a little bit more explanation. This is how this works, this is how, you know, use the materials, techniques, and that sort of thing. And then once we get through the first, you know, about 2 weeks or so, then it's going to be more of you guys here's the assignment and you paint, and there's going to be a lot more time for you guys to just paint and me to just answer questions and that sort of thing. Okay, but you know, we'll always have like a little bit of instruction of a new skill, a new technique, new style of painting, especially on Mondays, and then you guys will have time to paint. Some of your projects might be 1 week, some might be 2 weeks. You know, that's just kind of how it'll flow. Okay, so don't worry, you'll have plenty of time to work on things. But I do need to just explain some basic palette management and the brushes and all that sort of thing before you guys get going on painting. So one thing, remember the last video, I said these paints might stain. So just realize white brushes are not going to stay white. Whatever color you use, especially the first time, sometimes it stains. Even after you clean it, it still is colored, and that's okay, especially if, you know, if it's still soft and pliable and you don't have paint stuck in there, then it's fine if it's not pure white. Okay, all right, so as you're working with this type of palette, what I want you guys to realize is that, you know, if you just mix all your colors like you did when you were 5 with your Crayola art set, then you're gonna have a hard time getting those pure colors. So you do need to really be careful about not mixing a dirty brush with another one. And also when you mix colors, I'm gonna show you how to move and mix the colors, like the best way for palette management. That's why we have all these crazy things. The other thing you gotta think about is that you are gonna ignore the white in this. I'm gonna be able to tell if you're using white. So you're gonna ignore white and black. Okay, we're just gonna deal with color, you know, for the first part of this semester. So you're gonna ignore those colors. But what I want you to think about is that if you're working with watercolor, say I was using this orange, how do I make a lighter version of orange and a darker version of orange if I can't use white and black? It's a watercolor, and diluting the pigment is going to make a lighter orange, and then using a higher ratio of pigment with a little bit of water will make a darker orange. Okay, so with that said, as you're trying to figure out, like, get familiar with your brushes, this is kind of a medium sized brush. I do need to get a little bit of water on my brush to kind of like get the paints moving. This has a good amount of water in it. You can kind of see it's shiny on my hand. If I use this brush, okay, and then I put this in the water, you can see I have a lot more water. Bigger brush holds more water. Okay, I know this seems really simple. It is simple, but a lot of times people just grab brushes and they don't even stop and think about, like, the fact that there's a lot of water. So as you're grabbing paint, I would suggest not using your biggest brush. This medium one I have here works pretty good. Even you know, the brush that came with the set, feel free to use that to just like grab and transfer paint. That'd be a good use for this one because it doesn't have a good tip. It's just, you know, a throwaway brush. So, you know, you can use this to, and it has a decent amount of water. So this might be useful for you. Part of this is you getting used to things. The 2 smaller brushes in your set, I would suggest not using those to mix or transfer paint. Those are going to be, you know, useful to you when you want to get these really small little points. So just use these for painting, not for mixing. Okay, you know, and if you happen to have Crayola paint watercolor things around the house, and you know, you have some more of these kind of things for moving paint, that's fine. But this one, these work great. Okay, you got what you need for sure. So as I'm doing this, one thing that I tend to do, you know, like I said, this is a lot of water. So sometimes, even before I'm going to do anything, I kind of test it on the back. I can feel how wet it is. And let's use a different color. We're going to use green. Okay, I haven't used the green yet. So if I have a damp brush across this, you can kind of see it's coming out like basically kind of dryish. Okay, if I put my brush in there without squeezing out the water like I did last time, then you can kind of see, you start seeing a little bit, it's like puddling up a little bit. right there. Okay, see how it's kind of puddling up? That's okay, except what you don't want to do is put so much water in here all the time that it's just going to be like diluting it. You're going to run out of paint a little faster if you're putting a ton of water in here. Okay, so for now it's fine. Basically, the color didn't really change a whole lot because I had about the same amount of water going on the brush. Okay, I didn't necessarily add more water. This had more water, but it was on top of the paint. So, you know, we said we can make lighter and darker versions of the color. So at that point, these lids and even this lid, if I put paint in here, okay, you know, it doesn't look like a lot of paint, but it's fine. And then I grab some water, and I grab more water. I can start diluting it, right? I can make a lighter version. Okay, this is a lighter version, and you can see it's a little bit more fluid. It's going to cover the paper pretty easily. So I can make a lighter version versus a darker version. This one didn't spread as much, but there's also one part to these paints that I need to still get to you. Okay, so let's talk about mixing paints a little bit. You have a good range, but let's say we want to mix this green, and what if we want like a lighter green, more yellowy green? Okay. Your first project is going to be with color mixing and color theory and all that stuff, so we're going to get into some of that a little bit more. Okay. If I feel like I have too much green on here and I need to wash the brush, I can just grab this one. This is a clean brush. Okay. I'm going to grab a little bit of this yellow. See, notice I'm just grabbing a little bit of it. I'm not drowning it. And then I can take this here, and now I can make a greenish yellow. Okay. I like that color. It's kind of neon. Okay. Notice that this brush is really not good for painting, so it'll be great for doing what I just did for transferring stuff, and especially for mixing. This brush would be great for mixing because it doesn't matter if you kind of do that and ruin the brush. Like, see how it's all splayed out like that? You don't want to do that to a brush that you need the point. But this brush, since we're really not going to paint with it, you can mix and then rinse it out and just use it for that. So the big thing I want you guys to take from this is you notice that I got green out, put it there. I got a clean brush and I got the yellow and added to it. I didn't take the green and put it in with the yellow. Otherwise, especially like lighter colors, this yellow, if I start adding colors to it, it's going to be hard for me to get down to pure yellow again. What I'd have to do is take a damp paper towel and wipe it, and so then I'd have to kind of clean off the top. So, you know, if you mix them, it's not the end of the world. You can do that, but to make sure you're not just wasting paint and running out, if you have to do that, just be real kind of careful and gentle at the beginning of it. Okay, and just take off like the top until you get to pure yellow. Okay, so that's kind of the workflow. What you're going to do, you're going to use the paints. Use this or use this, mix them ahead of time. These work great too, because what if I was doing a whole background in, say, like a light blue, say I wanted more of a sky blue, then I could mix a lot of that color and then I'd have a lot to keep going back to instead of mixing and remixing. Okay, so it's kind of the workflow that you guys got to get into here. Okay, all right, next video will be on what you guys are going to do for your first exercise, not a first project, just first exercise to get used to how the brushes work, how the paint works, and etc. Okay?